Well, last weekend I did not attend the Douglas Halloween parade because it was late on a Saturday night, and that's a school night for me. But I did get to see pictures on Facebook this week, and it looked like everybody was having such a wonderful time. And probably my favorite costume was a member of this congregation, a man who shall remain nameless, who went to the parade dressed as White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Now, his picture didn't make the newspaper, but there were pictures in the local newspaper this week, and right on the front cover you may have seen the picture of the protester. There actually was a protester at the Douglas Halloween parade. Now, I don't know if it was a costume or if it was a real protester, but there he is with the sign, and it says, "Hypocrites deserve hell." And what got my attention about it even further was underneath the sign, there is a Bible chapter and verse. And it is the Bible chapter and verse that we just read this morning from today's lectionary, where Jesus is calling out hypocrites. And so I wanted to point this out today because if this protester was for real, he wasn't really paying attention to this gospel reading. Because the hypocrites Jesus is calling out are the people who stand in judgment and act all morally superior. I can guarantee you if Jesus was at the Douglas Halloween parade, he would be so happy that people were coming together as a community in great joy, expressing themselves. But the hypocrites are the ones he is calling out for being the morally superior and the ones who are judging others. Now, 2 years ago at the parade, another member of our community came dressed as Kim Davis. Now, if you don't remember who that is, she was in the news in 2015. She is the Kentucky courthouse clerk who refused to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples after the Supreme Court said that marriage equality was the law of the land. And she said she just couldn't do it because she was a good Christian woman and that she had to protect the sanctity of marriage. Well, Kim Davis has been married not once, not twice, not 3 times. She's been married 4 times. This is what Jesus was implying in today's gospel. Jesus is saying, look at these people who proclaim to be these moral, superior people, standing in judgment of others, and yet they themselves do not practice what they preach. We see this over and over again, don't we, in our politicians, in televangelists and religious leaders. The ones who are always proclaiming family values and standing in judgment of others are the ones who get caught in these sex scandals. And the ones who are always proclaiming truth are the ones who get caught up in corruption and lies. These are the hypocrites that Jesus is referring to. Now, the word hypocrite comes from a Greek word which means actor. Someone who is pretending to be someone else, someone who's not authentic. If you look up the word in the dictionary, the word hypocrite, it says someone who puts on a false appearance of piety or religion, and someone whose actions are in contradiction to what they say they believe. My favorite statement about hypocrisy comes from the 19th century American writer whose name was Ambrose Bierce. And he said, "Hypocrisy is prejudice wearing a halo." Hypocrisy is prejudice wearing a halo. So Kim Davis can be prejudiced against gay people, but she's wearing a halo of a good Christian woman. That's hypocrisy. So we can have the Christian baker saying, I can't bake wedding cakes for gay couples. I'm so holy. The halo. Or you have the Christian landlord who says, I can't rent to a Muslim person. Or you have the Christian employer who says, well, I can't hire a transgender person. I'm under God's authority. Prejudice wearing a halo. That's hypocrisy. And that is what Jesus is calling out in today's gospel. Now, if you come to Douglas UCC on a regular basis, you know the past 5 Sundays have all been about this. We're reading from Matthew's gospel, and every single Sunday, Jesus has been confronting the Pharisees, the religious authorities, and calling them hypocrites. But in this passage today, he goes one step further. He tells the crowds, don't follow their ways, because they don't practice what they preach. And that was really dangerous, so dangerous that those are the words that will get Jesus killed. So, the hypocrites, the religious leaders, the Pharisees of Jesus' time, who were they? Well, they were really important people, not only in religion, but in the society, because they were the upholders of what was known as the purity system. This purity system classified people as either pure or impure, clean or unclean. And it was based on your health, on your financial status, on your gender, on your nationality, on your religion. You were either deemed as clean or unclean. Jesus came to bust these purity codes. He came to say these categories, these walls that you're putting up between people need to be torn down. We need to see the oneness in everyone. All are worthy, all are pure. There's a wonderful book called Meeting Jesus for the First Time, and it was written by the late Jesus scholar whose name was Marcus Borg. And in that book, he, I think, really explains very simply what the purity codes were. He says the effect of the purity system was to create a world with sharp social boundaries between pure and impure, righteous and sinner, whole and not whole, male and female, rich and poor, Jew and Gentile. The Pharisees would not even eat with somebody who was impure, and no decent person would share a meal with someone who was unclean. Jesus, however, was different. He purposely flouted the purity system. His was an inclusive movement, negating the boundaries of the purity system. It included women and untouchables and the poor and the maimed and the marginalized. In short, there was something boundary shattering about Jesus' message and activity. Whereas purity divides and excludes people, compassion unites and includes everyone. For Jesus, compassion had a radical socio-political meaning. In his teaching and in the shape of his movement, the purity system was subverted, and an alternative social vision was affirmed. The politics of purity was replaced by a politics of compassion. Politics of purity were replaced with the politics of compassion. Now, of course, that was Jesus' vision. It hasn't quite happened. We still have many Christians today who still are living in a purity system. They no longer say clean or unclean, but they categorize people as saved or unsaved. Have you been saved? And if you haven't been saved, we've got to tell you about Jesus, because you have to make sure that you're saved. So they're still living in a purity system. That's not the way of Jesus. So you can't truly call yourself a Christian and then stand in judgment and moral superiority of others. You can't truly call yourself a Christian and then work to support policies that allow people to discriminate in the name of religion. You can't call yourself a Christian truly if you vote for policies that keep the poor poor and that benefit the rich, that deny the stranger, that harm the planet. That isn't the way of Jesus. And yet we have so many of those holy rollers, those people who are basically prejudice, but they're wearing a halo because they're such good Christians. It's not the way of Jesus. Many Christians today are good at talking the talk. They could tell you every Bible passage, backwards and forwards. They love to pray in public, just as Jesus spoke about in today's gospel. But Jesus is saying, faith has to be in action. You can say what you believe all you want, but show it to me. Now, this week in our weekly newsletter, I shared a quote from Cory Booker, which was very much in line with this. He said, "Don't speak to me about your religion. First, show it to me in how you treat people. Don't tell me how much you love God. Show it to me in how much you love all God's children. Don't preach to me about your passion for your faith. Teach me through your compassion for your neighbor. In the end, I'm not interested in what you have to tell or sell, as I am in how you choose to live and give. I'm not interested in what you have to tell. I'm interested in what you have to show." So if you're not including people, if you're rejecting people, you're not following the way of Jesus, no matter how much you proclaim to be a Christian. That's what Jesus meant by hypocrisy. We need to be people who walk our talk. And before we go on sounding too morally superior, we need to check ourselves. We need to look at ourselves and our own hypocrisy. So, for example, you may say, "I'm a person who has such faith and trust in God," and yet you live with worry and fear and anxiety. How's that walking your talk? You may say, "God provides," and then you live in lack and limitation. How is that walking your talk? You may say, "I believe in forgiveness and unconditional love," and then you yourself are holding on to a resentment or something you can't let go of, a past hurt. That's not walking your talk. Now, I got to watch a movie a few weeks ago. It was a movie that was nominated for a few Oscars last year. I finally got around to seeing it. It's called Hacksaw Ridge, and it's based on a true story of a man named Desmond Doss, who during World War II enlisted in the service but said, "I can't carry a gun because I'm a Christian and I've been taught thou shalt not kill." And they didn't know what to do with him. And so he did go into battle, and he didn't carry a gun. And he saved many, many lives. He was someone who put his faith into action. He said, "I don't believe in killing, and I'm not going to carry a weapon." And he didn't. So these are examples for us to be people to walk our talk. Now, I want to say this. We're coming to the end of the year, and when I look back on 2017, I see a community here, the people of Douglas UCC, who really do walk their talk. And I'm so grateful to share this spiritual journey with you. So, for example, we as a congregation, we say that we care for the environment, that we're a creation justice church. And we put that into action. We have beach cleanups and recycling events. We say that we're an open and affirming church. And we don't just say it in words, we demonstrate it. We're out at gay pride events. We're hosting rainbow families. We're supporting out on the lakeshore. We say we're a church that strives for justice for all. And we did it this year. We marched in the Women's March. We supported the Native American water protectors at Standing Rock. We are putting our faith into action. So I want to thank you for that, and I want to encourage us to continue to do that as we move forward. So let us, like Jesus, call out the hypocrites in our midst. Let us speak truth to power. And let us put feet under our words so that we can walk our talk and put our faith into action. Namaste.